Hello class, today I'm doing my presentation 2 for Spte 550, where we will talk about two conflicting media representations of a certain event. The event that I chose to present on today is called the Fail Mary. So for those of you who don't know what the Fail Mary is, on September 24th, 2012, the Seattle Seahawks were playing the Green Bay Packers. What would follow next will go down in infamy. Pull up the video. So at this game, the NFL was currently on a holdout with the referees that have been doing all the NFL games for the past few years. And to remedy this problem, they had brought in a series of replacement refs. This was the first primetime game of the season that these replacement refs were going to officiate a real NFL game. And this is how that first primetime game unfolded.
The game's final play is a Wilson loft to the end zone, which is fought for by Tate with Jennings simultaneous. Who has it? One guy goes up, touchdown. The other said no time. How does MD Jennings not get credit for the interception? I have no idea.
So as you can see in this short clip, the replacement refs have their hand full, and at the end of the video, we see one replacement ref signaling a touchdown, while the other is signaling for an incomplete pass. So next we'll talk about the articles that describe these events and how they affected the sports for years to come. The first article that I wanted to talk about is by Pro Football Talk, and it's been published on NBC Sports. The title is The Final Impact of the Fail Mary. This article gives the overall impact of the events for both teams, but also has bias and sympathy for the Packers that can be seen. And then below I included a quote. Thus, in the end, the Packers were the only team negatively affected by the game. And the impact ultimately could be significant. Now the Packers must win an extra game to get to the Super Bowl and also hit the road when instead they should have to simply win one home game to qualify for the NFC Finals. So clearly, Mike Florio, the writer of this article, feels that because of the mistakes by the replacement refs in ruling that the catch was actually a touchdown for the Seahawks instead of what should have been an interception for the Packers, Florio feels that the Packers were unjustly treated in this event, and that is the viewpoint he is sharing in this article. But next we look at the ESPN article titled Fail Mary, Official Fighting Depression. And this tells the other side of the Fail Mary, the perspective of the referee that made the call. Now, originally, when I was doing this report, I thought to myself, the second article that I should write about should show that the Seahawks feel like that their season was misrepresented by this no call or this bad call. But in looking for articles, this ESPN article really struck me because it gave me a different perspective than I had ever thought of. This article tells the other side of the Fail Mary, the perspective of the referee that made the touchdown call. By rule, I got it right, Easley, the referee, told ESPN in September. By rule, there's nothing else I could do with it. People ask me all the time. They'll say, I'm sorry, but you made a bad call. Then I say, tell me by rule how I made a bad call. And they can't. You have to go by the rules. So this kind of really gave me a perspective, and it framed the story around the referee, and it really showed like there were other people affected by this just in the Packers not getting a win. There were real life people affected by this lockout of the referees and people who had to step into jobs they maybe weren't prepared for. So next I wanted to talk about the difference in articles. Both articles came from respected media outlets and are highly regarded, so it's not like either article was trying to write a hit piece to make you feel bad one way or another. However, the two articles are framed very different. ESPN telling the story of the referee, while PFT tells the story of the teams on the field. The PFT article wants you to see and understand the Packers were hurt in their quest for the Super Bowl by this mistake, one that they feel is reprehensible, and that the NFL really let the Packers down by letting these replacement refs call this game. While the ESPN article frames the story not around the teams affected, but tells the story of the infamous referee and wants us to realize that this was a mistake and there's a real human being at the center of this story that still suffers with consequences for his decision to this day based on making a call in a football game that he shouldn't have been calling in the first place. Media persuasion and how these articles made me feel. The PFT article was much more informative than the ESPN because it told the story of both teams' seasons after the event, which is kind of a lingering question if you were to see just a short clip of the catch, you would think, well, how did the seasons end? Did it end up mattering? And PFT answers those questions. They let you know that both teams are in a position to make the playoffs after this event, but that the Packers would have been in a much better position had the call been made correctly. However, the ESPN article was actually more convincing in how I saw the event, in that neither team was actually really hurt badly by this call, but the person being vilified for calling is suffering still because of how the media portrayed the event. So due to how fans and the teams and people reacted to the two referees making different calls, the one referee, Easley, who made the wrong call, is still suffering PTSD and depression to this day. So although I still think the Packers did get cheated, and I think it's evident in the video, the ESPN article persuaded me that maybe it wasn't such a bad thing after all, and we should have sympathy for our fellow humans who sometimes make mistakes. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your semester.